Warning: the following video contains strong language that may be offensive to some viewers and/or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Did you hear about what happened? Crazy.
True crime, we online.
Come check us out.
Tune in, it's about to go down.
So we at
True crime, based on real life events. Every story has two sides.
telling the truth, who telling them lies?
Them on me, anybody with eyes, they can see that this the truth that I am speaking. Blood leaking, what's the reason? No remorse for the family. Where's the justice? We need peace. Another plot twist is deep. Got me on the edge of my
I wonder what's gonna happen next.
Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of Murder and Cocktails, where true crime meets mixology. I'm your host, Nicole and LaChelle, and I am here with my fabulous co-host, true crime bestie, LaChelle Walker.
Hey everybody, I missed y'all a lot. And Nicole too.
Welcome to season 2, baby.
Oh, two's my favorite number.
Of course it is. We are alive and well, and we are back to 100%. We no longer have cooties.
That part.
No more cooties. So we are here, and we are ready to spill some true crime tea. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I've missed your face.
I missed yours.
I
So
feel-
much just happened.
I feel like we broke up.
But we were like talking to each other, but like I think we were passing colds through the phone. I'd call you, it's like hello. And then you'd call me, I'm like
It's weather change. Like Michigan, like one day it was like 80 degrees, and then the next day the high was 55. It's like, what in the world? Like, Mother Nature, could you please get your whole life? And
No.
today the high was 55. And this weekend the high is gonna be 70. Like, can we get it together, please? Like,
y'all gonna
I'm
be
trying
sick
not to
again.
be sick. Knock on wood. Don't be jinxing me.
Find some wood.
Jesus.
I don't have any here.
Oh, Jesus. Oh. In today's episode, we delve into one of the most infamous and horrifying criminal cases in California's history: the Manson family. In the late 1960s, Charles Manson, a charismatic and manipulative leader, formed a cult-like group of followers who believed in his twisted vision of an apocalyptic race war he called Helter Skelter. Weird. Very weird. What began as a commune of disillusioned youth living on the fringes of society soon spiraled into a series of brutal and senseless murders that shocked the nation. Manson and his followers were responsible for at least 9 murders, including the brutal slaying of actress Sharon Tate and 4 others at her Los Angeles home on August 8th and 9th, 1969. The next night, the carnage continued with the murders of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca, spreading terror across the city. Manson's control over his followers was chilling. He convinced them that these murders would ignite a catastrophic racial conflict that he could only lead them through. Today, we'll explore the dark and complex dynamics within the Manson family, from the allure of Manson's charisma and prophetic promises to the psychological manipulation that turned his followers into cold-blooded killers. We'll also delve into the events that led to their capture, the sensational trials that followed, and the lasting impact of their crimes on American society. Join us as we unravel the full story of Charles Manson and his followers, examining the sinister blend of mind control, violence, and apocalyptic delusions that led to one of America's most notorious killing sprees. Stay tuned for this gripping episode as we delve into the mind of a madman and his loyal disciples who carried out his deadly orders, leaving a legacy of fear and horror that still echoes today. But before we begin, per usual, We want to remind everyone that this episode discusses graphic content and may not be suitable for all audiences. So, grab your favorite libation and let's raise a glass to a murderously good time. But first, we have some true crime news.
The search for 32-year-old newlywed Melissa Jubain tragically concluded this week when her remains were discovered and her neighbor was charged with her murder. Jubain, a nurse at St. Vincent Hospital in Portland, was reported missing on September 4th after failing to show up for her morning shift, raising alarms among her family, friends, and coworkers. Jubain had just married her longtime partner, Brian Yantero, in a beautiful ceremony in Hawaii on August 24th, with the couple returning to the Pacific Northwest on September 1st to begin their new life together. However, just days after their wedding, Jubain's sudden disappearance from her Oregon apartment sent shockwaves through her community. The Beaverton Police Department shared in a Facebook update on September 7th that Jubain's body had been found, and Bryce Jonathan Schubert, her 27-year-old neighbor, had been arrested and charged with her murder. While the details of the investigation remain limited, authorities expressed their heartfelt gratitude to the community for assisting in the search efforts and extended their condolences to Jubain's family. Friends of Jubain described her as a kind-hearted and selfless individual who was always willing to help others. Her sudden death has left a profound impact on those who knew her, and a GoFundMe campaign set up to support her family has raised over $56,000 as of September 8th. As the investigation continues, the community mourns the loss of a woman who had just begun the next chapter of her life. Stay tuned for more updates as we follow this heartbreaking case. If you have any thoughts or comments on today's story, please reach out to us on social media or through our website. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.
That's just creepy.
That makes me very sad.
Her neighbor. So this dude's probably been contemplating this for a minute, probably fantasizing about her and everything.
That's my thought. I think these are my thoughts. Let me put that out there first. That he maybe had some feelings for her, and then she gets married and he's pissed. Just my thoughts, though.
Sounds like a really good Lifetime movie, though. Y'all better jump on that.
Wait.
It sucks because she just got married.
Right. That's all we can do is just sigh because, what the fuck?
Right.
Oh.
Her mother and her husband, heartbroken, devastated, as they should be. Sending love, prayers, and condolences to the family, of course.
Absolutely.
All right. Charles Manson, born on November 12th, 1934 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Hold up. He was born in Ohio? I did not know that. He entered the world under the name Charles Mills Maddox. From the start, his life was a chaotic whirlwind of instability and neglect. His teenage mother, Kathleen Maddox, was only 16 when she gave birth to him. His father, Colonel Walker Scott, a transient laborer, abandoned the family before Manson was even born, leaving Kathleen to fend for herself. With her erratic behavior and a penchant for criminal activity, Kathleen struggled to raise her son, frequently finding herself on the wrong side of the law. This left Charles in the care of various relatives, bouncing between his aunt and uncle's home in West Virginia and a series of reformatories. These early experiences of instability left deep scars, shaping his antisocial tendencies and a criminal outlook that would define the rest of his life. By the tender age of 9, Manson had already committed his first crime. stealing from a grocery store, marking the beginning of a lifelong spiral into crime. As the years passed, his list of offenses grew, encompassing petty theft, armed robbery, and auto theft. His adolescence was marred by multiple stints in juvenile detention centers, including Boys Town, a Nebraska-based facility where he quickly escaped and went on a spree of burglaries and car thefts. This lifestyle would eventually lead him to more serious correctional facilities. Each reform school or prison was a new stage for Manson to sharpen his manipulative and violent tendencies, rebelling against authority at every turn. Manson's ability to charm and manipulate became evident even during his time behind bars. He often conned fellow inmates into helping him with escape attempts or other schemes. In one instance, he convinced an inmate to help him escape from a correctional facility, but the plan failed and they were caught soon after. By the early 1950s, Manson had been released from juvenile detention, and by age 20, he had already been married twice. His first wife, Rosalie Willis, gave him a brief escape from his life of crime, and they even had a son together, Charles Manson Jr. However, Manson's penchant for trouble caught up with him again when he was arrested for car theft, leading to the collapse of his marriage. In prison, Rosalie left him, taking their son with her. His second marriage to Leona Candy Stevens was similarly ill-fated, as Manson continued his life of crime and ended up back in prison. Another child, Charles Luther Manson, was born during this marriage, but like his first, it ended in divorce while Manson was incarcerated. Manson's time behind bars in the 1950s and 1960s proved to be transformative. It was during his period that he picked up the guitar and delved into the teachings of various cults and religious movements. He was drawn to the works of Aleister Crowley, L. Ron Hubbard, and French psychologists, incorporating elements from their teachings to create his own bizarre philosophy. Manson also became fixated on Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, which provided him with tools for manipulation and persuasion, skills he would later use to deadly effect on his followers.
I like that book. Oh no. I had to read that book as an orientation for a job. Like, it was... Wow. And Who Moved My Cheese? Sorry for interrupting you, but when I heard that, I was like, well, shit.
Upon his release from Terminal Island Prison in California in 1967, Manson had become so accustomed to institutional life that he reportedly asked the warden if he could stay. The fuck? Okay. His request was, of course, denied, and at the age of 32, he found himself thrust into the countercultural whirlwind of the late 1960s. The streets of San Francisco were teeming with disillusioned youth, seeking a new pathway from the mainstream, and Manson wasted no time in immersing himself in this environment. His charisma and musical talent quickly attracted a small group of followers, mostly young women, who were captivated by his magnetic personality and promises of spiritual insight. These followers, who would later be known as the Manson Family, were primarily young women from middle-class backgrounds, seeking meaning in the counterculture movement. Manson exploited their vulnerabilities, positioning himself as a messiah-like figure who offered them purpose and belonging. His teachings were an eclectic mix of religion, science fiction, and apocalyptic prophecy, drawing these lost souls further into his twisted worldview. In 1968, Manson moved the family to Los Angeles, determined to break into the music industry. His connections included Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, who briefly housed Manson and his followers, but Manson's erratic behavior soon strained the relationship. Although Wilson managed to convince the Beach Boys to record a version of one of Manson's songs, Cease to Exist, later retitled Never Learn Not to Love, the experience was a commercial failure. This rejection only deepened Manson's growing frustration and resentment toward the music industry, planting the seeds for the violent path he would eventually take. Wilson's rejection was just the beginning, and there's so much more to uncover in Manson's downward spiral. But first, we're going to take a quick break and tell you about a podcast we think you are going to love. Ye Old Crime Podcast. If you are a fan of historical mysteries, dark tales, and of course, crime, then Ye Old Crime Podcast is the perfect addition to your playlist. Hosts Lindsay and Madison dive into some of history's strangest and often lesser-known crimes, from bizarre heists to infamous criminals and odd customs of the past that'll leave you both fascinated and just a little bit creeped out. Each episode is packed with wit, weird facts, and a sprinkle of humor to keep you coming back for more. Check out Ye Old Crime Podcast wherever you listen and prepare to journey through the ages in the most unexpected ways.
Oh, we bringing the bottles out. What is this? Sipping salt. We gon' figure this out right now. For sure. Let's get it.
Hey, what you got? Yeah. Hold me up, I'm almost there. Solving crimes, let's get it clear. Glasses in the air, chill. Sipping salt, that's the call for alcohol. Sipping salt, no, don't drink it all. Hey, hold me up, hold me up, yeah. Hold me up. Sipping salt. Sipping salt. Sip, hold me up. Hold me up. Yeah. Sipping salt. Sipping.
It's time for our favorite segment, Sip and Solve. Grab your shakers and glasses. We're about to mix up a drink that perfectly complements today's mystery's dark twists and turns. Today's featured cocktail is the Blue Valium, courtesy of tipsybartender.com. Here's how you can concoct this intriguing libation. The ingredients are 2 ounces of vodka, 1 ounce of blue curacao, 1 ounce of sweet and sour mix, 2 ounces of Sprite, a lemon slice, and a maraschino cherry. Add ice to a serving glass and pour over vodka, blue curacao, sweet and sour, and lemon lime soda. Stir gently to combine. Garnish with a lemon slice and cherry, and drink responsibly.
That sounds good.
I dig it.
Totally.
And you know what? Valium is blue. Fun fact.
It's been a while since I had one, so probably a good idea that I don't need to take them anymore. Otherwise, I would be an episode. Charles Manson's obsession with fame and his twisted apocalyptic visions eventually led him to establish the infamous Manson family at Spahn Ranch, a rundown movie set in the San Fernando Valley. It was here that he fully took control of his followers, isolating them from the world while filling their minds with LSD-laced teachings about an impending race war that he called Helter Skelter. Manson believed African Americans would rise up, overthrow white society, and then be unable to govern themselves. According to him, this chaos would leave him and the family to emerge as the new rulers of the world. He was convinced that the Beatles' White Album was packed with hidden messages confirming his prophecy, especially the track Helter Skelter, which he took as a rallying cry for his delusions. That's crazy because I've actually heard that record, and no. My grandma was like a huge Beatles fan. Oh gosh. This dude was delusional over. You know what? You're right. True.
We were
facts. By the summer of 1969, Manson's desperation for attention and influence was at an all-time high. His dreams of a music career had fizzled, and his brief flirtation with Hollywood through connections like Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys was falling apart. Determined to spark the race war he envisioned, Manson ordered his followers to commit a series of murders that would shock the world and, in his warped mind, ignite the chaos he so longed for. On August 8, 1969, Manson directed 4 of his most loyal followers, Tex Watson, Patricia Krenwinkel, Susan Atkins, and Linda Caspian, to the home of actress Sharon Tate and her husband, director Roman Polanski. Polanski was out of the country filming, but Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, was at home with friends. Hairstylist Jay Sebring, coffee heiress Abigail Folger, and Folger's boyfriend, Wojciech Frykowski. Tragically, the group never stood a chance. Manson's followers brutally murdered all 4 of them, along with 18-year-old Stephen Parent, who had been visiting the caretaker. The very next night, Manson personally accompanied his followers on another senseless killing spree. Their targets this time were grocery store executive Lino LaBianca and his wife Rosemary. The couple had no connection to Manson or his followers. They were simply chosen at random. Once again, the scene was one of utter brutality, and just like at the Tate house, the killers left eerie messages scrawled in blood on the walls. The murder sent shockwaves across the nation. The brutality of the crimes and random nature of the crimes left the country in fear, and a massive investigation was launched to find those responsible. By the end of 1969, the police had tracked down Manson and several of his followers, charging them with the murders. What followed was one of the most sensational trials in American history. Manson, with his wild-eyed looks and bizarre behavior in court, became a symbol of the darkest side of the 1960s counterculture. Though he wasn't physically present during the murders, prosecutor Vincent I can't do it. Bugliosi? I think that sounds about right. Successfully argued that Manson had masterminded the entire thing, using his followers as tools to carry out his violent vision. In January 1971, Manson and several of his followers were convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. They were sentenced to death, but when California abolished the death penalty, which is so crazy to me, in 1972, their sentences were commuted to life imprisonment. You know how I feel about the death penalty. Why would they freaking hippies?
I do. I mean, everything's banned in California, to be fair, though.
Next thing you know, they'll be
You can
banning
barely
me.
breathe there.
You breathe wrong, you're going to jail. Made you snort. Even from prison, Manson's notoriety never faded. Like, he was that guy. He granted several high-profile interviews, spewing his rambling philosophy and maintaining his innocence. His unhinged rants and wild appearance only solidified his infamy. Meanwhile, his followers faced similar fates. Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Leslie Van Houten, who had participated in the LaBianca murders, were all sentenced to life in prison. Tex Watson, who led the Tate murders, also received a life sentence. Other family members, like Lynette Squeaky Fromm, remained fiercely loyal to Manson. In 1975, she even attempted to assassinate President Gerald Ford, though her gun malfunctioned and she was quickly subdued. The Manson family murders marked a brutal end to the peace and love image of the 1960s. Totally killed it. These senseless killings exposed the dark side of the era and left an indelible stain on American culture. The story of Manson and his followers has been revisited time and time again in books, documentaries, and films. Vincent Bugliosi's Helter Skelter became the best-selling true crime book of all time, while more recent documentaries like Manson Speaks, Inside the Mind of a Madman, and Inside the Manson Cult, The Lost Tapes, have delved into the deeper, more unsettling layers of Manson's twisted reign. Quentin Tarantino's 2019 film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood even offered an alternate reality where the Manson family murders never happened. Nah. Charles Manson died on November 19th, 2017 at the age of 83, while serving 9 life sentences at Corcoran State Prison in California. But even in death, his legacy of violence and manipulation continues to haunt. The Manson murders are a chilling reminder of how easily charismatic leaders can exploit vulnerable minds, how disillusioned youth can be drawn into dangerous ideologies, and how ordinary people can commit unthinkable atrocities under the influence of a manipulative figure like Charles Manson. As we reach the end of this chilling episode of Murder and Cocktails, we want to thank you, our fantastic listeners, for joining us on this dark and mysterious journey. Your enthusiasm for true crime and mixology makes each episode truly special. Before we wrap up, don't forget to follow us on your favorite podcast platform to stay updated on our latest concoctions of crime and cocktails. And of course, share the love by leaving a review. Your feedback keeps the spirits high and the stories flowing. Remember to visit our website, truecrimemeetsmixology.com, for the cocktail recipe of the week, the Blue Valium, inspired by today's episode, and to check out our favorite things. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and keep those glasses full. Cheers to the mysteries that keep us coming back for more.
Ooh, that show was good. I can't wait for the next one to come out. Binging on the podcast. Hope true crime never run out. What's gonna happen in the next episode? Nobody don't know. All this suspense, this get intense. No turning back now. I'm all in. True crime, we online. Tune in, it's about to go down. True crime, based on real life events. Every story has 2 sides.